Okay, let's talk about DexCom. They're a huge player in diabetes tech, and they just posted a massive quarter. But when you look past the billion-dollar headlines, there's a much more complicated story going on. I mean, on the surface, everything looks absolutely perfect. We're talking record-shattering revenue, incredible growth. You think this company could do no wrong? So you have to ask, right? Why on earth did the CEO spend a huge chunk of the earnings call talking about customer complaints and product problems? That's the real story we're digging into here. This tension between explosive growth and the very real growing pains that come with it. But first, let's just appreciate the numbers, because they are genuinely impressive by any standard. Get this. DexCom pulled in over $1.2 billion in revenue. That didn't just meet expectations, it handily beat them. And it's not just the total number, it's the speed. That's a 22% jump compared to last year. A lot of that is being fueled by big wins in new markets, like France and Canada, where they've finally gotten broader insurance coverage. And all that growth, it's flowing right down to the bottom line. At 61 cents a share, this was the highest quarterly earnings per share in the company's entire history. So yeah, financially, an absolute home run. So what in the world is driving this incredible growth? Well, it all comes down to a really smart strategic pivot toward a huge, untapped market. Now, to really get their strategy, you've got to know their core product, the continuous glucose monitor, or CGM. For millions of people, this little device is a total game changer, replacing those constant, painful finger pricks with a steady stream of data sent right to your phone. See, for years, CGMs were mostly for people with type 1 diabetes. But the real prize, the biggest piece of the pie you see here, is the much, much larger type 2 population, especially all the folks who don't even use insulin. That's the market they are laser focused on now. And we're talking about a massive group of people. This is the new frontier they're aggressively targeting, and it is, without a doubt, their biggest shot at future growth. And they are making some serious headway. They've just locked in deals with 3 of the biggest pharmacy benefit managers. You know, the companies that basically tell your insurance plan what drugs and devices they'll pay for. This is a huge deal. It just unlocked access to CGMs for millions of new potential customers who couldn't get one before. Okay, so everything sounds amazing, right? But, and it's a big but, this super fast expansion created some serious growing pains. And that meant a major headache for the company and, more importantly, for its users. On their earnings call, the CEO had to come out and directly address the frustration customers were feeling with their main product, the G7 sensor. When a CEO says something like this, you know the problem is real, and it's something they know could really damage their reputation. So what was happening? A specific, and let's be honest, incredibly frustrating problem. The device just wasn't working, straight out of the box. Can you imagine opening a brand new medical device you depend on only to find out it's already broken? And this quality issue wasn't just a PR nightmare. It had a direct negative hit on the company's profitability. Yeah, this quality failure hit them right in the wallet. It was a 1-2 punch. First, they had to throw out way more faulty parts during manufacturing. That's what higher scrap rates means. And that costs money. Then they had to pay for expensive, rushed shipping to get working replacements out to frustrated customers. Both of those things just ate right into their profit on every single sensor they sold. So the big question is, how is DexCom fixing this mess while also trying to plan for the future? Well, it looks like they're tackling it from a few different angles. A key piece of their future plan is new software aimed right at that type 2 market. They're building an AI tool that helps with one of the toughest parts of insulin management, figuring out the right dose. You know that process can normally take weeks, sometimes months of trial and error. DexCom wants to make it faster and way more personal. And it's not just software. They're upgrading their hardware with a new sensor that lasts 15 days instead of 10. That's a really key competitive move. They're also taking their consumer wellness brand, Stelo, international. And to directly deal with all those customer service issues, they're rolling out a new online platform to hopefully make getting support and ordering a whole lot easier. Okay, so let's put this all together. Looking ahead to next year, what's the big takeaway for DexCom's future? What's pretty interesting is that the company itself is kind of pumping the brakes on expectations. They're basically telling investors, hey, don't just assume we're going to have another year of these massive insurance wins. They're signaling that growth might cool off just a little bit. They're being cautious. And this really gets right to the heart of the challenge for DexCom. On one side, you have this enormous, massive opportunity for more growth. But on the other, they have to prove that they can execute flawlessly at this new, much larger scale.
So it all boils down to one question, really. Can their operational foundation actually keep up with their bold ambitions? That's the billion-dollar question DexCom has to answer in the year ahead.